Many across the Commonwealth have already experienced storm damage to their property this year.
And with storms sticking around in our forecast, WKYT First Alert meteorologist Alexa Minton talked with an insurance agent to get the specifics about storm insurance policies and coverage. It's a story new at 6.
A lot of Kentuckians are familiar with storm damage and the toll it takes on your personal property value. However, local insurance agents are reminding folks to check up on that policy to make sure you're fully covered for when the worst hits.
As far as homeowners policies go in the state of Kentucky, they're pretty broad.
While most insurance policies cover storm damage in general, some may apply a separate deductible for wind and hail damage to a policy. Where things can also get tricky is on storm specification, like if a weather event is deemed a catastrophic storm or not by the company. An event is designated as a catastrophe by the industry when claims are expected to reach a certain dollar threshold, but it doesn't necessarily include things like flooding events in the policy.
If storms are deemed a catastrophe storm, then they're rated separately as far as that claim on your policy.
When it comes to whether or not a storm is meteorologically severe, that doesn't necessarily matter as much.
Your everyday summer thunderstorm that pops up and lightning strikes and hits your home, it's going to be covered the same way as if it was a severe storm.
Rotted trees and old roofs aren't guaranteed coverage as well, as insurance companies can look to see if the damage is man-made or natural.
Maintaining your home and your property is a big thing with insurance. They're doing inspections now more than ever. So pride of ownership is a big underwriting thing right now. Sit down with your insurance agent and really review your policy, because we can customize it for you.
For WKYT, I'm First Alert meteorologist Alexa Minton.